All right, well, hopefully we're going. So if somebody's watching here, you might tell me if we do make it. So, welcome everyone here and also out there on all the different platforms. We're glad you're with us. And I thought maybe we'd start off with a little bit of a breathing exercise. How about that? Sound good?
That's good.
The last few weeks that we've been started off here, I haven't done that. And I reflected on it and I thought I really needed to do that. And I really did need to do that for me.
You're good.
So, thank you, Doug. And so, right now, I'd like for us to, I hadn't really thought through this, so we'll just do what comes to the top of my thinking here. So, I'd like for us just, think of something that we're grateful for.
Yeah.
Just anything you're grateful for. I remember today I was looking up at the sky and there was a cloud that was a low-hanging, white, fluffy cloud. And I just looked at that and I thought, I like that. And I don't really look at clouds that often, but
That's great.
something about that just kind of, I took a pause and I was thankful just for that couple seconds. So find something that's you're grateful for. I'm going to be grateful for that cloud floating across there.
For waking me up this morning.
And if you interested in putting your hand or hands on your heart, because where you touch, that's where your focus goes, and we want to synchronize our heart and our brain together because we're way more effective when we do that. So let's breathe in twice and exhale deeply.
Through our nose, right?
In through your nose, out through your mouth, all the way out. Inhale twice and exhale. Inhale twice. Exhale. And bring to your mind what you're thankful for. And maybe other things that you're thankful for. I'm thankful for Saturday Night Live and the help that we have been, we are being, and that we will be. All right. So tonight we're having a very interesting topic. Kim has selected this topic, and it's pride born of hurt.
Yeah.
And Kim, when you're doing it, are you going to be talking about what you think that means?
Really?
You
Shouldn't even ask, huh?
And I've pondered this, and it's kind of a challenging thought, as Tommy and I have talked through this week about. Anyway, we'll see how things go, and maybe we will. Maybe I will talk a little bit about that too. Plus, I'm going to be talking about 6 early warning signs you are dealing with a toxic person.
Good.
And I think this is could be some beneficial information to help us know ourselves and also possibly know others, right?
Right.
So I'm going to stall while I'm waiting on Mr. MC to come forward, and so we're glad that everyone's here. Hopefully you out there that you find something that's beneficial, and if you do, let us know. Like, comment, ask questions. Zach knows everything, so he can answer. He can answer any question that and if he doesn't know, Lisa can help him out because what he doesn't know, she knows, right?
Now you're trying to get me in trouble.
Very intelligent.
And share, okay? In other words, share what you've learned and share this program. So, welcome, Zach.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight?
Feel good.
So,
Better than I have ever, really.
good. Good,
Shaw's
good,
not
good.
the law no more, you're the law.
So how's everybody's week been?
Up and down and getting used to medication, I'm there. I'm there. Eliminating some medication. It's good.
Just so you know, we are filming. It's going out
I
live.
don't care.
Okay, just putting that
Not
out
okay.
there. You know, there was a day that I didn't want to be filmed or didn't want to have anything I was saying broadcast, you know? That's some of that shady stuff from last week, right, Tommy?
Yeah.
We had to help Doug out with the shady, but we were being so shady that he didn't get it at first.
I thought about that several times this week.
It was a lesson. See, we were doing a lesson within a lesson right there.
Tommy, you'll never let me do that
Huh?
They're just
now. You'll never let me do that now.
Never remember.
No, it was good. It was good.
Right.
You don't get one over on Doug very often, but we can mark that one down.
Yeah, bam.
All right. So, everybody had a good week?
Yeah.
Yeah?
See me,
Yeah.
yeah, I got.
Really enthusiastic.
Every time I see my worker, I get involved,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, involved.
Yeah.
I can't mention the name, but
All right.
I can't say that my week was wonderful. My week was hectic and stressful, so.
Hectic and stressful. Yeah.
But does that happen to a healthy person? That happens, don't it?
Well, yeah,
Some days are diamonds, some days are gold.
life happens to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are or how well you're doing or how well you're not doing it, life happens.
Yeah.
You know, and
Some days are diamonds, some days are gold.
that's true, you get to decide, and here's a lot of people don't realize is that we get to decide how we respond when life happens. You know, sometimes we don't feel that that's the way that it is, but it is the way that it is. We get to decide how we respond to that.
It's your actions, right? The way you act upon that.
And that's a lot of things. It's the way you act. It's how you feel about it. It's what it means to you. You know, like
If it's don't mean to you, then whatever, but.
it's like there's a saying, and I thought I knew who said it, and then I learned that somebody said it before them, and somebody said it before then. So I don't know who really said it.
Hugh Hefner did.
But it's not what happens. There's a saying. It's not what happens to you. It's
How you respond.
how you feel about it. And because if you think about that for a minute, that sounds kind of harsh. But if you think about that for a minute, things are happening to us all the time. We determine what gets in and what doesn't, what hurts and what doesn't.
That's good.
You know, like for example, if somebody walked up to me and called me a jerk and I never saw him before in my life, and it ain't gonna mean that much because I never could have been a jerk to him because I never had any interaction with him. But if somebody that I knew for years and years and years said, "Hey man, you're a jerk," that's different. And the reason why it's different is because I feel different about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I did.
So you can apply that to everywhere.
Right.
That sounds kind of hard, but that's really true.
It's a good word. It's a good word. Yeah.
So we're gonna get started. So Doug number 2 is gonna come read the 12 steps for us. Please welcome Doug.
Tommy, it's gonna be shady, right? Oh, you're too tall. That's the problem. Okay, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and our life had become unmanageable. Romans 7:18, I know that nothing good lives in me. I want to do what is right, but I can't. See also John 8:31-36, and Romans 7:14-25. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being that the exact nature of our wrongs. We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so we would injure them or others. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry the message to others and to protect these principles in all our affairs. Thank you.
Good job, Doug. Thank you.
All right, let's give Doug a hand. All right. We believe in the 12 steps around here. It's not all we do, but it's part of it. And so we're gonna have Kim come and give the step for us, so please welcome Kim.
All right,
Kim.
All right, step 7. Doing the section Pride Born of Hurt. And I'm gonna go ahead and read the step. We humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. I'm gonna read out of the Recovery Bible. Those of you that have it, it's page 1311, and it's over the scripture Luke 11, verses 5 through 13. Our pride can keep us from asking for what we need. We may have grown up in a family where we were consistently ignored or disappointed. Perhaps our needs were seldom met. Some of us may have reacted by becoming self-sufficient. We determined never to ask anyone for help. In fact, we were going to strive to never need anyone's help ever again. Let's see. And this type of pride, born of hurt, that will hold us back from asking God to help us deal with our shortcomings. Jesus said, "And so I tell you, keep on asking, and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be open." You parents, if your children ask for a loaf of bread, do you give them a stone, or do you give them a stone instead? Or if they ask for fish, do you give them a snake? Of course not. So if you sinful people know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask Him? We must come to the place of giving up prideful self-sufficiency. We must be willing to ask for help. And we can't ask for help just once and be done with it. We must be persistent and ask repeatedly as the needs arise. When we practice step 7 in this way, we can be assured that our loving Heavenly Father will respond by giving us good gifts and removing our shortcomings. You know, we always think of not we, but me, always think of for me, I always thought of pride is like this overbearing, egotistical, behavior. Little did I know that pride can go another direction, and that's, I can do this on my own. also little did I know, you know, in my journey in recovery, that is unhealthy.
What'd you say? I missed that.
I said, a little did I know in my journey through recovery that that is actually a very unhealthy behavior.
Oh, that's twice. What was that again?
I'll say it again. So in my journey in recovery, I learned that self-sufficient, I can do it on my own behavior was unhealthy.
Well, that's a good point.
It is, very good point. You know, like, I'm gonna talk about two of the questions on here because they really, like, have been areas that I've struggled with and still, on occasion, struggle with. Progress, not perfection.
Amen.
Yeah, so the pride thing. You know, a lot of us, and now I can say us because I know I'm not alone in this,
Right.
we were taught growing up, you know, our family, you need to be able to do it on your own. Not gonna baby you. Which is good, but too much is really unhealthy.
Balanced everything.
Yes, balance everything. Constantly learning that too. Okay, so first question. Is it hard for me to ask anyone, even God, for help? What keeps me from sharing? But it really, like, that key moment, because like I felt like it was like the pivotal moment in my life. I thought I can do it on my own. You know, I did get a little bit of help, but it was like, yeah, I got this. And then, like, it came to the point for me where I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I broke down. And I remember literally being on my hands and knees screaming to God, please help me. And one of the things I think is hard, like, say throughout my life, it's been really hard to open up. And whenever this talks about what keeps me from sharing, vulnerability.
Ugh. Not my friend.
You know, I was taught growing up, you know, just from events, like what I saw from my own experience, if I showed anyone that I was weak in any way, shape, or form, they were gonna come after me. You know, survival skills. You know, yes, Doug.
Is vulnerability and weakness the same thing?
Thank you, Doug. Well, it depends how you look at it. Well,
That's the way everything is, right?
yeah. I would say yes and no. Again, it depends how you look at it. It depends what we're talking about.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. Anyways,
So you're weak if you're vulnerable.
that's the way I used to see it. That's a really good question, Doug.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Throw her under the bus.
Yeah, like, I really, like, can I sit and percolate on that tonight while I sleep and then get back to you?
Sure.
Because I'll be up here all night thinking about that.
I feel watching you process right now.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
You bet.
What do you mean by weak?
Woo-hoo!
That,
Go him.
well, you are the one that brought up the terminology about showing weakness.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why I asked the question is, in far as I'm concerned, being vulnerable is a very strong side, a form of being strong, being able to be vulnerable.
I agree.
Being weak would mean that you are fragile, very, you have, what I want to say is you have no coping mechanism or defense mechanism there to try to take care of yourself, so you are vulnerable in a negative sense of the way. But when we're talking about here, choosing to let our guard down, let me give you this illustration. This is from a personal mind exercise that I went through, mental, emotional, spiritual exercise, where I used to believe that I had to keep my back to the wall and keep everybody in front of me so that I could watch everything, and therefore I would feel protected. But then one day I decided that I would willingly and consciously allow people to have a shot at my back if that's what they wanted to do. And that if that actually helped them, I was okay with that. So I was being vulnerable, but that was in a strong way. What do you think about that?
I see what you mean by the difference. So in that context, I think that there is a difference. And
I have a thought on this when you asked the question. I want you to go back and forth. You know, in construction, when you talk about, you know, wood, lumber, metal, concrete, all of those things, when you talk about the vulnerabilities of those materials, those are the weak points that could potentially cause break. And so, but by being aware of the vulnerabilities and the vulnerable spots in the material, you can adapt and make it stronger and reinforce it. So I think that vulnerability is not necessarily a weakness, but it's a weak spot that has the potential for breakage. But if we are aware of it and we acknowledge it, then we can use the tools and skills that we need to overcome it and strengthen it. That's a thought.
Got a hand over there.
Doug, too.
I used to, when I got out of prison, not be able to have somebody behind my back. I'd always spin around and a certain person at the treatment said, "You're not in prison no more." I said, "Yes, but it's gonna take a while, but I'm good now. Anybody can go behind my back, I don't care." I just figured when you said that you'd been in prison, you know, whatever, but
Well,
thank you.
there are physical prisons and mental prisons. And a mental prison is the hardest to deal with because it's one you live with daily.
You got him out of that one, didn't you? That's all right, Doug.
Anyways, so like in the really early days of recovery, that was hard. Because growing up, you know, you learn to do things on your own. You cannot depend on anyone else. Those were things that were like messages drilled in my brain. So with time, and so I still struggle with this from time to time, you know, it's like, hey, I need some help here. And there are times that life happens, like, be real. And just feeling that like disconnection from God. You know, like it happens.
I just wanna say, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Anyway, so like, for me, the more that I practice that part, the easier it's become. Am I a master at it? No. Just being honest, being real. This second question out of the step guide, I recommend anyone doing recovery work, doing the work, the step work, to examine this and reflect on it, contemplate, ask the questions. What experiences in my family of origin have brought about this self-sufficiency? See, like, getting to know, like, the patterns that run in the family, you know, the things like the behaviors, the ugly behaviors, the sick behaviors, like seeing this because it's passed down, you know, until someone decides to do something different. You know, for me, like growing up military family, and I'm not blaming the military, but it was something like conditioning, you know. I remember as a child, like I love my father with all my heart. Love that man. But one of the things I remember as a small kid, you remember those laser tag guns? You know, they just came out, was it 80? I don't know. But they were cool and I wanted one. I wanted one. And it's like high shelf, and I'm just like, I wonder how much that is. My dad made me, well, he didn't make me, but he was like, if you want to know, ask somebody for help. Oh my God, he was teaching me this the whole time. Anyway. But you know, oh my gosh.
You're gonna call him when you get home.
Yeah, I am. I'm be like, Dad, you know. But anyways, there's other things, but like if you want something, you gotta do it yourself. Yeah, I'm gonna go home and call Dad tonight. Anyways, but also like going further down the line, like this is again real stuff. So the deeper down the family line, my grandmother passed this spring. And, you know, like I always wanted to know, you know, I wanted a close relationship. I didn't get that. And that's okay. But one of the things that like I really wanted to know was why she was, what made her the way she was. I'm sorry that I'm veering a little off track, but finding out the stories, what their lives were like.
Sure.
Because that truly helps me, like, what's the difference? The compassion, the forgiveness, and it's like, even though she's passed, I feel like I have finally got that connection with her. As screwed up as that may sound. But anyways, that is all I have.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Kim.
Give Kim a hand. Kim. That was good stuff. We're gonna move on to reflection, and we're gonna ask Tommy to come and give that, so here's Tommy.
Tommy?
This was messed up. I had confused pride with like your sports team pride or your school pride or like just like the pride that's not the one in the Bible. So like I'm thinking, how was I hurt and got positive pride? Messed me up. So I looked at it backwards and I realized that, yeah, it's a good topic. So I had wrote some stuff, and I realized it was my pride talking. So I still have that in here, but I'm not gonna share that with you guys.
Come on.
I'll send it to you later. But I did come up with this. I said there are a lot of situations in this life that can cause us hurt and make life difficult to live. Yet we may get used to living that way because we don't want to live without the environment that is hurting us. Might be because we don't know what else is out there, or we have lived this way since childhood and we are unwilling to face the truth. Well, that's not okay with me. To stay in the hurt, untrusting of God to show a way out, relying on the ways learned, living through the hurt is a danger zone to me and unacceptable as I learn more about God and what He wanted from me. And I will say there are a lot of kinds of pride, those ones I was talking about, and the kind of pride and if you work through the hurt, you can have humility and virtue opposed to an arrogant pride that is probably just a false way to act, thinking that it will keep the hurt away. Hurt is a damaging thing to go through, and a lot of us just cover it up with addictions. And over the years, we might forget what hurt us, and that's okay, because that happens. And I had to realize that I couldn't put emphasis on one or two events because there are several tragic events in my life that have caused me hurt. And I have to ask myself if I'm still hurting due to those things, having involved me or those I love, and how do I humble myself to get in a place to heal so I can have the good pride of dignity to say I overcame, and allow God to remove the hurt and letting go of arrogant pride that is rooted in deep insecurities, fear, and unworthiness. When we are prideful, we often feel small, overlooked, and insecure, and unloved. So we may compensate with doing things to look large and in charge. To hide the hurt from the world, a prideful person can put on a false mask that they are perfect and have a great false confidence, and at times get caught up in attention-seeking behaviors that most times just bring more hurt. That's not the kind of pride I want in my life. Thank you.
Good.
I had no clue. I think the more I struggled with this, the more that I was learning about it.
That's awesome. It's very good.
How it works.
That was good, Tommy. Everybody give Tommy a hand.
Thank you, Tommy.
So, when everybody was talking tonight, I was thinking, and I had a thought that, we're talking about pride, but we're also talking about pain, hurt. And, pain is a universal language.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, you can go across the world and not know anything about the culture or can't speak the language but if there's somebody hurting, you can feel that. And if you're willing to sit with somebody in their pain, pain's a universal language, and I think that I'm out of words, I've been out of words all day, and so I'm trying to make this nice, but it just wants to come out R-rated. So, you know, things happen to us, and we have to survive, and we do that in many different ways. And like what you were talking about, coping mechanisms, and, you know, I think that if we're not careful, we can be very harsh with ourselves for some of our surviving. I hope that makes sense. You know, the person, like I did a lot of things, if I can just turn this around on me, it'll make it a lot easier. I did a lot of things that I wish I could undo. And I did those things out of my own pain and hurt and my own surviving. And I'm not saying they were okay, or that I'm not responsible for them, because I am. But I have to be very careful that I don't look in the mirror today and beat myself up for the things that that person did, because I'm not that person anymore. And that's very easy to do.
What's very easy to do?
It's very easy to miss that you're not who you used to be.
I just want to make sure, I knew what you were saying, but I wanted to be clear to everybody else.
I know, I've done it.
You know, recovery is much more than what you first think it is when you get into recovery. You know, recovery is not abstinence. You know, there's sobriety and there's recovery. And I'm not knocking your sobriety, and I'm only going to speak for myself, but when all I have is sobriety, I was a relapse waiting to happen. And until I started recovering from the things that made me want to escape and numb out and do all those things and hurt other people, you know, until I did something, until I recovered from that pain, that trauma, I was a relapse waiting to happen.
Good information.
And then when you start to get in recovery and you start to try to change,
You do change.
9 times out of 10, it feels like everything caves in on you. It's like, things weren't this bad when I was using it and getting high,
Right.
you know? And there's a reason for that. It's because it's trying to push you back into that destructive behavior. And I had a really hard time with this. That's why I know it so well. Is that for a long, long time, I still thought of myself as no good, no matter who I helped or what I did. I was down here for years helping other people, and I still felt like I was rotten. I was recovering, I wasn't using, I was doing better, I was living life on life's terms. I mean, I was doing the things I'm supposed to be doing.
Except doing it for yourself.
Because every time I looked in the mirror, I saw that old person. It's like if you go to a family dinner and your uncle across the table, no matter how many years you've been sober,
Touch you down for us.
still treats you like you just drank something before you showed up,
Yeah.
or used something before you showed up. And it doesn't matter how long you've been sober, how successful you are, they're not going to see you any different.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we do to ourselves, though. And we usually do it worse than anybody else. Now, usually, if that happens to us, we get pretty ticked off at the uncle, and we want to go fight in the backyard,
Yeah.
okay, because we don't want anybody to treat us that way. But we treat ourselves worse.
That's right.
We're the one doing it, yeah.
And so, what I'm trying to say with my limited words tonight is that if you catch yourself
Slipping.
if you catch yourself acting like,
The old you.
if you look at yourself like you're the old you and you're not giving yourself any credit for being the new you, that's a problem.
You're waiting for that to happen.
That's a problem. We have to quit judging ourselves for what the old man did.
Right.
I had a situation like that today. I was thinking, I was remembering several chapters back in my life and events that took place, and I was like looking through the timeline, and I was like, how that kind of stuff stopped happening in my life. And then like through the years, like it would sometimes happen. And then I was like, oh wow, this has not happened in years.
Amen,
I
brother.
was like, is it gonna happen again? And then all of a sudden my thinking says, no, because you're not that person. It's not, you don't live like that anymore, so you don't put yourself in that environment have to act that way. Okay, good job, Tom.
It's like, it reminds me of, it's like when, you know, when we're out there doing our thing, we wanted to avoid the police, and the worst thing in the world is getting pulled over, right? So even though you got about several years of recovery, you still get pulled over, you're still kind of freaking out, you're like,
Or a cop knock, yeah.
yeah, or someone knocks on your door, right? And then the day that comes, you realize, you know what? Pull me over all you want to, I'm good, man. You know, I'm off paper, there ain't nothing in my car, you know, all you can do is if I ran that light back there, and if I ran it, then you can give me a ticket, but that's it. You know, but my point is,
Don't look in the mirror.
that's good, but we gotta look in the mirror every
I
day.
understand.
You know, that's good, but I mean, we gotta practice this.
Can I say a little short thing? God says we can't do what happened yesterday, it's done. Just today, tomorrow we're not promised. That's the way I look at it on the religious side, okay? That's
Right.
just me.
And that's good, but if we're all really, really honest, how much of us really live that way?
Exactly.
You know, and we're our own worst
Working on
enemy, and that's good, and, you know,
But I have to have a mirror to shave in.
and that's my point.
I know,
You know, there are people that try not to look in the mirror.
but you're gonna have to learn.
People live that way, and there's a reason for that,
Because they don't wanna be
you know,
confronted.
but you got to shave, at least, I mean, I didn't shave today, but I mean, I'll have to shave pretty soon, you know, I mean, I'm gonna have to look in the
Or
mirror,
brush your hair,
you
etc.,
know,
whatever,
yeah,
you know.
so, I mean,
You gotta learn.
just recognize that you're in a different place and you're a different person,
Amen.
you know, as I didn't say you weren't responsible, that's not what I'm saying, I don't get no hate mail.
Well, I'm
You're,
gonna say something short too, that's it. I ain't gonna say who, but my caseworker, the last few times, there's been situations where I could've went off and wanted to go off on business people. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know if having him with me, if I would've went ahead and done it or not.
That's
I
good
gotta
to have
work on that.
support.
I gotta work on that too.
All right, well, without further ado, please welcome Doug. You wanna be in the front, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna be in
You
front.
got it?
Yeah. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Doug,
You're welcome, Doug.
for in advance. You're about 30 seconds difference. I guess you know that, right?
Yeah. There's so much that we need to talk about, or I'd like to talk about, but I think I'm gonna start with what you brought into my mind there, Zach, about I'm gonna make a suggestion of how to help individuals to make that change. Look at yourself differently. I have taught for years the cognitive approach, which I believe in, but I think to help us in this, because, you know, Doug was talking about the religious or scriptural aspect of things, and we know that cognitively, as Zach referred that
But do we,
we're aware of it.
but we don't act on it.
Well, and that's where I'm going right here, is because we know a lot of things that we're not able to implement into our life. And so this is my suggestion, that if we just, if we will take time to look in the mirror,
Right?
and decide what and how we want to feel about that person that's in the mirror,
Amen.
and help ourselves. I didn't say force ourselves or make ourselves, I said help ourselves to feel the emotion about that person in the mirror, which is me, or if you're looking at it, which is you. That you look in the mirror and that you have a, I'm gonna start off on the, maybe an easier term. How about compassion,
Passion.
or being, feeling, having grace towards that person in the mirror, which is you, and then moving to the place being thankful, and not cognitively thankful, but emotionally thankful, because we're talking about emotions here,
Yes.
that you're working on trying to get emotionally synchronized with yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Because most of us, if not all of us, we have in the past diligently worked so hard to be emotionally disconnected from ourselves. And this ties in with our subject tonight of pride born of hurt, that I say that I've gotten hurt here, or I feel shame, or I feel rejected, or I didn't get any help, so I am going to harden up and take care of my own damn self.
And you're doing
Right.
right there.
And so we get to that place, and that is an emotional aspect of things, but it's not in the direction I'm talking about right now. Does that make sense?
What is your topic?
The topic is pride born of hurt. That's our topic for tonight. And so so now a solution that I am proposing is that we begin to look at ourselves, and that we look from that heart aspect and see the hurt that we have bared, or we've suffered, and maybe that we've even inflicted to ourselves, right? And say, well, you know, it could have all been for the best intentions, but it may have been flawed in the design phase of to really produce a truly positive effect in our life. So what we have to do is, to make it simple, is we have to begin to have compassion towards ourselves.
Right?
We need to be grateful that our intention is to be better. Our cognitively, we want to be better. In fact, we even use destructive tools to try to make ourselves better, right?
That grateful to me is number one.
It is very powerful, and we need to use it. And I'm using gratefulness and compassion as the doorway to loving yourself, appreciating yourself, and having kindness and respect towards yourself to help you to alter your emotional feeling, because what we think produces how we feel. Our feelings produce our behaviors. And after we have so many years produced this hateful, hard, maybe even prideful, even though we didn't realize it was prideful, it was just a defense coping mechanism that we put together to try to survive, and we were just doing the best we could.
It's hard to overcome.
And now we need to say, well, thank you for trying to do the best that you could,
Right,
but we didn't see all the information.
amen.
And so we need to make some shifts. And I'm talking about choosing to feel differently about yourself and practice it,
Choosing,
okay? All right, I'll use an exercise that I implemented. This was back in the 70s. When I was a kid, let's start even back when I was preteen, teen-year-old, probably preteen and maybe early teens,
preaching.
I would look in the mirror and hate myself, to try and make myself hard and not be vulnerable. Okay. Toughen myself up.
How'd that work for you?
It worked really well. I kept everybody pretty much outside, emotionally speaking. In fact, my parents were concerned because I didn't talk to people. That was one of the ways to keep people out, okay?
What if you are mortal and you don't reason as a human being?
Well, I think that if you're,
Jesus is the only name by which you man.
we're all human beings here, and at least I think so.
Yeah.
Which one is a man? Which
and
one
let-
of us is a man?
And, well,
My sister, my
So,
half-sister from.
let me finish this thought before I lose it. So we have
None of
to,
us are.
one of the tools that we need to do is we need to change our emotions. And before I was a teenager, I practiced hardness in the mirror. And then when I was trying to change how I felt about myself, because I trained myself to hate me, okay? And because I didn't like me and I didn't figure anybody else liked me, so I just hardened me up so I keep everybody out so they didn't have a chance to hurt me. Then later in life, now I had to change how I felt a need. I felt directed by the Holy Spirit to help me to
Overcome that.
soften myself up and love myself and accept myself when I looked in the mirror and looked at myself in my eyes. And as Zach was talking earlier, people can look in the mirror and they can look at themselves, but they usually look about specific things, like they look at the hair, or they look at their ear, or they look at their lips, but they don't really want to look into the eyes.
And that's a good practice.
Okay.
I haven't done it, but I'm doing it.
And you look into your eyes and you speak to you, not you that's in the mirror, but you that's in the deepness of yourself, okay?
My sister from San Antonio says, good, thumbs up.
All right. Thank you, San Antonio. And so what we have to do is we need to love ourselves and change that. And it's hard. And it tastes terrible in your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right? It tastes terrible. But the reason why it's hard and the reason why it tastes terrible is because it's something we didn't practice. That was foreign. That was strange. We weren't aware of this, so we had to learn it.
Could that make you relapse?
Certainly it can.
Depending on the
It can.
situation.
Absolutely. It can cause you to be so overwhelmed that you can run and hide and try to avoid yourself again and fall back into your hole. It can. So you have to be careful about that. And that's the reason why you need to stay connected and plugged in and let people help you, okay? Because recovery is not an isolation game, okay? Because those, even Moses, when he's talking about in the wilderness, those that went way ahead and those that fell way behind, they got picked off, okay?
Yeah.
Right? The Cowboys and the Indians, when the Indians would pick them off, they were separated by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because we're out there alone, and that's the same in life, in every aspect, including recovery. all right?
And help from others.
So we need others, and we need to recognize that we need to persistently ask. And that persistently ask, I wrote this down in my notes, actually helps us to reestablish a new thought habit.
Right.
And I like what Dr. Karen Leaf says, is that we need to be our own thought detective.
Joyce Meyer says that too.
So we need to discover what we're thinking, what we're feeling
Before, are you saying?
right now,
Right at that.
Right.
Right at that moment.
right now, and in the next moment.
Okay.
We need to know what we're thinking. So what we need to do is we need to emotionally change how we feel about ourselves and agree with our thoughts that we want that. And then when we get orientated, when we're lined up, when we're congruent, then we have much more personal power in our life and peace.
People, places, and
Okay.
things, my deal.
So, that took way longer than I thought. I have some questions and reflection and discussion questions down here. I've got 4. It was something that I found in looking for these things, but they're really good. I really don't know if I have time to go into and hit it.
You got no.
But I got one. I want to at least do one, and I may be motivated to do another one. But you reminded me of this particular question, Kim, while you were talking, and I'll just read the question. It says, "What is the difference between a legitimate need for help and a desire for someone to rescue and codependently fix things for me?"
Good word there.
You say that again, and you read the question, I'm having trouble tracking.
I know, it's a challenge. I'll read it again, but I was gonna let that the dust settle there for a second.
Makes me confused.
Okay, what is the difference between a legitimate need for help, part 1, okay, part 2 here, and a desire for someone to rescue and codependently fix things for me?
Number one,
That's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question.
that is a question, yeah. But number one, I think,
You want
part one.
shock that response?
If you want to give it, it's a discussion question.
That question immediately makes me think that the individual, or me at one time in my life, I didn't want to do the work. I wanted just to avoid working on myself and do the work, and I wanted someone to come in and rescue me and smooth everything over, which is not, it doesn't ever work that way. It just compounds the problem. But, and it's scary. It's scary. It's daunting, but it's not undoable. And it's more, it looks more scary than what it really is. But, it sounds kind of harsh, but the first part of the question is, doing the work of recovery, and the second part is just wanting to stay in your fantasy.
That's right.
John, would you turn the air conditioner down a little bit more?
Chop it up.
fun there, though. It has a false sense of fun.
Okay.
Chop it up for me.
Do what?
I said, chop it up for me if you'd have been listening to me. Part one. But I could get it steered, I could get it mixed up with part 2 sometimes. It'd be real easy. But I'm sticking with part 1.
Okay. I think that's a pretty healthy choice.
Yeah, good one, Kim.
Kim, you look like you're squirming a little bit.
Because you're in my stuff.
She gonna get you
Well,
now.
like, because this was like a big struggle, because like in my mind, stages of recovery, if somebody came to fix it for
Right.
me,
Right,
they cared about me. That was my delusional
Good thought,
thinking,
yeah.
because that's like what I knew at the time, but like now, like first part, asking for help, healthy way, in my mind, and forgive me because I feel scattered today,
It means it's a learning day.
yes, it's
Yeah.
all day long. But like,
my brain? I didn't say that.
So you mean if I use my brain?
Kept looking at me like, you said that?
I didn't understand what you
You
said.
mean I have to use my brain?
Oh, yeah, well, you don't have to, but I think it's in your best interest.
First part, but
anyways, like the first part, I feel like showing me the way, like the tool.
Out there in TV land, I wish you could see all the gestures and the facial expressions. Because she is communicating, but it's in a nonverbal way. And now she's put a sweater over her head. And,
She like Zach had run out of words.
well, they're all in there, it's just,
Coming out.
it's fine, and I think it's good.
I'm hoping the gestures
I-
force it out, but nothing.
I get it, and so I think, if I may interpret some of that, is that in your earlier years, somehow you equated being rescued by being accepted or loved, and that's and that's a normal primary thought, okay? Because when we come into this world, we have no power, we have no skills, we're totally dependent on others to take care of us. If we don't have anyone take care of us, we die. There is scientific research to say that if you don't receive a minimum amount of care and love, you will have the failure to thrive, and you'll die.
at that age.
At that age, well,
Any age.
to a degree, it's that way at every age, but particularly at infant stage, okay?
Thanks, Kim, for bringing that up.
And
Yeah.
so we know that, and so oftentimes we translate what we've learned from early life, because as Abraham Maslow has said, and I haven't used this for a while, so it gives me a chance to use it here, but Abraham Maslow says that if the only tool you have is a hammer, then you think every problem is a nail. So you use that same tool on everything.
Right.
And you don't know any different, because you don't know any different. You only know what you know. So here we are, and we don't really realize. Because your dad said, well, what you need to do is ask. But we didn't get it until 5 minutes ago.
Right. See,
But you got it, right? Bam!
Slow learning.
You got it in some other regards from other places, but now you realize you had it there. So
not the only ones.
I'm just playing with you a little bit. And so here we are. Let's go back to the discussion question, and so that maybe we can synchronize everyone just a tad. What is the difference between a legitimate need for help? You need some help. You want some help, but if you want that help, we need to ask for that help, as we discussed, as the scriptures you pointed out. Jesus talked about that we needed to ask for help. But what we don't need is for somebody to come in and try to take over our own personal responsibility, what we need to do to take care of ourselves, to rescue us, or to be that codependent person that feels that they need to do everything, and it has more to do with them trying to take care of you than really helping you. And then actually, I hope this is okay. Actually, the result is you're actually worse or sicker than you were before.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough statement,
But it's okay, cause
but I think it's true.
it's okay to say that.
So, what do you think? I'm blaming this one on Kim.
Yeah. Don't put your hoodie on now, don't do it.
Yeah, I might as well go read this one. That was number 1, this is number 3. How about that?
Okay. Number 3,
Yeah, this is on my paperwork. It's not in the life recovery book. This is
It's on
some
my notes.
information. It's information that I got off the internet that's related to our same topic.
it's on my notes.
Okay, great. I did number 1, here's number 3. How am I challenging the insanity in me,
Wow.
okay, that says addictive behaviors will somehow better meet my needs,
Addictive behaviors.
will somehow meet my needs than asking for help and following sound advice.
Read it again for us.
Okay? All right. How am I challenging the insanity in me? Okay? How am I challenging or approaching or dealing with the insanity in me that says addictive behaviors will somehow better meet my needs? Okay, it's like I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm angry, and I know, well, I just need to just go get high,
Right.
right? My insanity starts talking to me and says, the best way of doing this is getting high instead of talking to somebody and working through it.
Right. Yeah, it's all down.
That's what the question means? That's the way I understand it. You guys understand it that way?
Downhill from there if you do.
I'll read the question again. How am I challenging the insanity in me that says addictive behaviors will somehow better meet my needs than asking for help and following sound advice?
I think, I'm gonna answer the question, yes, I think that goes back to doing what we know.
Right.
You know, this is familiar to me, I know what this is, and yeah, it's unhealthy, and yeah, it's killing me, but I don't know what that is.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have any faith or trust in that.
That's a good word there, too.
Now, that sounds like insanity. I'm gonna stay using drugs instead of going to counseling and going and getting help and getting some meds. 'Cause, like, the reality of it is, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, most people are self-medicated.
Yeah.
Right.
And street drugs will,
Uh-huh.
people like to say this, but the truth is, street drugs will numb a lot of mental health symptoms
Truth hurts.
better than pharmaceutical drugs. Because it's such a potent dose, it just overwhelms the system. Now, yeah, it may work better, but it's killing you because it's so toxic.
Right.
And so then whenever you try to get help and you go and try to do the right thing, and that's not what they say, but this is really what's happening. I want you to lay down your street drugs for these over-the-counter drugs that don't work as well. Because they're a therapeutic dose, and they're not an overwhelming dose that's killing you. And so then we have to deal with that roller coaster. And that's hard, that's a struggle. You know, you could, I mean, that thing, there's all different kinds of ins and outs, because you try different medications, and you have to find one that works for you, then it'll all work for you. But you know what works, your brain knows what works. Yeah, it's killing me, but I ain't dead yet. And so,
Good word.
you know, it sounds crazy, but it makes sense
It does.
when we're living in insanity.
When we're living in insanity.
Because it does work. We just don't pay attention to the deficit that is killing us while it's working.
Yeah, it affects us in so many different ways. It, you know, I was going to try to create an analogy here. You know, we fix one thing, but we're blowing up the rest of things. And the trouble is, there's a part of us that says, well, I lived through it before, I can do it again. And that's part of that insanity. And the key word I keep wanting to make sure that I throw out there is insanity. And so we convince ourselves in our insanity that following our addictive behaviors, whether it's acting out or whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever, that's better for me than making a healthy choice of talking to someone and following some sound advice. Now, when it comes right down to it, the reason why we're in this room and the reason why some of you may be watching on video is that there's a part of you, not all of you, that knows that you've been, as we all have, and in fact that we all still do to some degree, living that insanity. And that I want to do something different. And the trouble is, there's research that says our brain will work against us when we start to try to make healthy choices because it don't want to change. Because, like Zach said, I am unfamiliar with that. I know a good, sick way to fix this, right? A good, sick way to fix this. And it will only cost you maybe your life tonight or maybe tomorrow night.
Exactly.
But if it works, it'll be great.
We don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And we don't think it's gonna kill us because it hasn't killed us for the last 3 days or 3 years or 30 years, you know?
And we don't know how much fentanyl's in it either.
No, and
I
that's,
don't wanna talk about that.
and that's the thing is that, I mean, there's all different kinds of risks and things like that that you don't know. You think you know, oh, I can trust this guy. I don't know how many times I've heard that or said that. You know, the guy you're getting dope from, oh, he's a good guy, I can trust him.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
he's a good guy. He's not, you know, he's selling me dope, but he wouldn't hurt me.
He's my brother.
None of that.
Yeah.
This is a weekly statement in my life. Every week I hear the same thing.
Oh, he's good.
He's a
I'm
good
going to
guy.
that guy. This
I'm
is a
not
good
trying to
guy.
steal no glory, I'm just trying to say something. Are you ready?
Sure.
Get your feet on the floor.
I got 1 foot.
There's fentanyl, number one. My sister OD'd on the fentanyl, so I made her pass, okay?
Sorry to hear that.
I wouldn't make it offensive, so I'm saying about fentanyl. I've done my testimony and I'll say it again. The old man in prison told me, Doug, you can have 30 years sobriety. If you don't have no recovery, you're doomed, okay? And this last relapse, my caseworker, I'm not mentioning no names, but he said, Doug, with all your health ailments and stuff, you can't do the same amount you used to do 10 years ago. You're gonna die. You know, that's what brought me back to Jesus, number one. And number two, I'm trying to get in here where I fit in and share and help others and stuff. That's what this is about.
And we're glad you're here and we want you to get in
Fit in.
and fit in the best you can.
It's Stalville.
Because,
What's that there?
This Saturday Night Live is a messy place for messy people, that doesn't seem to fit any place else,
And
pretty
hopefully,
much.
hopefully my friend.
I hope you don't take that wrong.
No, it's like a hospital. We're like an ER. You know,
No.
shit gets messy in the ER, man. You got all kinds of stuff. Think about the ER for a minute. You got blood. I'm gonna stop right there. 'Cause
You got syringes, you got
You got
points there,
all
you got.
kinds of stuff in the ER.
And I hope this friend of mine is gonna fulfill her deal, but you know,
Yeah.
an alcoholic can't own a bar, okay? Alcoholic cannot own a bar. But hopefully it will happen, you know,
Unless it's gold, unless it's a bar to
I've
go.
spoke with her. I don't know if that's, I've testified with her. I don't know if that's enough to get her here, but you know, you can hit a horse to water.
For you, that's right.
So hopefully she'll be here.
All right, we're going to eliminate the discussion on the discussion questions. I don't know, maybe hopefully that was productive. I don't know. I think the other two were pretty good, but those were I got, the second one, I've got it in red, but we'll leave that alone. So let's look at the 6 early warning signs you are dealing with a toxic person.
That's what I'm.
Are you ready for this? I have about 10 minutes and we will rush it, okay?
6 topics
6 early
early.
warning signs you are dealing with a toxic person.
Okay.
All right.
I know what that is.
And by the way, you know, in my opening statement here, you know, you may identify with some of these things and realize that you maybe have some toxic tendencies, or you used to have some toxic tendencies, or those toxic tendencies may come out from time to time. And also, you also can start to recognize that that's the reason why these dynamics happened in and around and about me and in places, okay? Does that make sense?
But
All right.
I've pissed a lot of people off because.
You're gonna have to hold your comment, okay? And so what we want to do is, and to be honest, to start off with, is we're all toxic people, okay? And we all got stuff. It's just the degrees of stuff. And as we learn, and I was thinking about this information, and I'm not going to be able to cover it as well as I've got on my notes, because I got 2 pages of notes on 6 items, and you know how that is. And so I was thinking how the different people that we've had here and that we have here, and that people are looking, as you just said a while ago, Doug, and I thought it was really, really good.
You did.
Yeah.
And hey, that sounds good. I mean, I know.
Well, you haven't heard what I'm getting, wait until I get it all out, all right? And that is that you said that you were glad you were here and that you found the place that you could fit in. And see, we're going to discuss this, but toxic people are looking for, just as everybody else is, and everybody's toxic, they're looking for a place that they can fit in, and they have different mechanisms that we're going to be talking about that they're trying to fit in, these coping mechanisms we talked about earlier on this, and so they're trying, but they're like hammers to a piece of glass, okay? They potentially can tear up stuff, and they can affect people around us. That's the reason why we say here Saturday Night Live, we accept everybody, even if you're drunk or high, we accept you as long as you don't affect others from receiving
In a bad way.
receiving recovery. And there's a fine line there. And how many times have we had in our leadership discussions about what the line, where's the line between protecting the group and protecting the individual?
Where is it?
You know, which is more important, the group or the individual? and to put it quickly, they're both important.
That's the answer.
And they're both important, and how to navigate that crazy knife edge line is impossible. But we try to do it. We try to do it. We try. We try. Sometimes we're good at it, sometimes we fail at it. Okay? So, that's my prelude to some of this. Okay, so let's get it.
Thanks, Doug, for
You're welcome.
making it.
Number one, they come in too strong. A toxic person comes in too strong. They come in, they want to tell people, when they walk in the room, they let everybody know they're there. Right?
I do.
You know? Bam! And so, and they come in too strong, they try to be the headliner, they want to they want everybody to know that they're there. They basically like to suck as much oxygen out of the room as they can.
But I don't do it on purpose, I really don't.
No,
I just all about.
i.e. toxic people kind of are like that. And so, and so they affect people around them because, well, I've got a question down here. Why? Why do people, well, let me read the last statement here. People who come on strong when they first meet you, this is individual wise, this is speaking to an individual. Actually, a pastor is the one that wrote this. A person who comes on strong when they first meet you, they usually leave the same way loudly.
I gotta go smoke on that one.
Case in point. And so,
Get out here.
all right, you can hear me on the speaker outside. Okay, so why? Why do people behave in this manner? Nobody wants to say? I'll give you my thought. My thought is the biggest core issue here is insecurity, right? The insecurity, needing love and trying to find some way to do that. And we can, in knowing some of these things, we can have compassion on the individual, but at the same time, be able to lovingly guide as best you can. It's kind of like a book, an article I read many, many years ago about training a horse, a stallion that was captured and then trying to get it broke. You wanted to be able to harness the power of that horse, but not break its spirit. And so,
It's a delicate thing, and even more so with people.
right, and so anyway, that's number one. Number
Can I add
two,
something to what you said on that number one?
do what?
Could I add something to what you said on the number one?
You may.
You know, the insecurity, and there's something else that I've noticed, in working with people, is that, you know, sometimes people don't have anyone. And they're horribly lonely. Horribly lonely. And so when they get around some people, and they can actually talk to another living human being, it kind of all comes out too much, unbridled, and people don't know because they don't know, you know. And it's not because the individual's trying to be frustrating, but it's they just so excited and so happy that they get to be around somebody else, other human beings, and they can talk and someone can hear them and know them, and you know it's.
The bottom line is human need, you know, it's human need, and that's just the way it is. And if we can have that understanding, as Kim was talking about, having some understanding even about her grandmother, it gives you the mental, emotional flexibility to navigate. Number two, give you advice during the first meeting, okay? a toxic individual wants to give you advice first meeting. They want to tell you in the first meeting 15 things that you could do better. They haven't developed a emotional connection, okay? They just start right in giving advice, okay? Telling you what to do. And they may be right, okay? They may be saying some things that need to be done, but it's not very, it's too quick, okay? It's too much too quick. But they could be insightful. They could be even operating in some gifts if they see some things. But the fact of it is, again, they are trying to meet some of their own personal needs and going about it in a toxic way. Does that make sense? And that it says healthy people will never give you loads of advice on the first time that they meet you. Unhealthy people will do it, right? Unpeople, they just give you that. Why would they do that? That's my question. That's what I wrote down there. My question, why? Why do people act that way?
I think some people, they're insecure, like you're talking about, so they wanna go into a place, but they want to bend the place to fit them.
Could be, yeah.
And they don't necessarily want to fit into the place. They want the place to kind of conform to them and how they want it to be. And we've had that here, and with good intentions,
Over and over and over.
again. And I think that's the difference between somebody hurting and struggling versus somebody that's toxic, because they can look a lot alike, but the person that's coming in wanting to change everything to fit them, and they care more about themselves than the collective, that's the difference between, to me, that's the difference between toxic and a wounded individual.
I think it's the same coin with two different sides. So that's my best way of saying that. And what I wrote down here, and this may be a little harsh, I wrote down here, it's, if I can read it. Is that right? Oh, yeah, that's it.
Did I write that?
Did I write that?
Did I write that?
Well, I'm written it sideways in the margin here. To feel important is what I wrote down here. To feel important, to feel valued, to feel needed, to feel, you know something. Number 3, they tell rather than wait to be asked, which is very, very similar to what we already talked about by giving advice. They tell instead of waiting. They want to put their point of view in, and it can be, again, a valid point, okay? But because they don't have a relationship to the person or the group, or they're brand new, they have an opinion about everything, and they want to make sure that they give it, okay? And we're talking about, and there's degrees of this, but we're talking about potentially toxic people, okay? And you may be thinking, well, maybe that's the reason why, things don't seem to work out with me and that person, and hopefully maybe this could be a benefit. Now, healthy individuals in healthy relationships, they have opinions, but they will hold their opinion until they're asked, right? Okay, or there's enough of a relationship that they're able to present. How's that sound? Okay, and the question is, let me read this. But it's done, all right, but a healthy individual will communicate this information, but it's done with humility, respect, with consideration for the individual that they're speaking to or to the group, right? And toxic people tell you everything about them, and also this is the last statement on this one, that toxic people tell you about everything about themselves. Healthy people wait to be asked.
Amen.
So I got down here, why? Why do people behave this way? Why is this, why do we have this toxic behavior? You look inside me.
Even if they're born with it?
This is the behavior. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Why do they act like that?
Yeah.
Because it gives them some type of sense of like authority over the situation. I was thinking about people that are toxic, that genuinely need help, and they ask somebody to help them, and the person helps them time and time again until they realize, maybe I shouldn't be helping this person so much because now the person is taking advantage. So I was like thinking, oh, that's toxic. And I
That sounds
noticed-
like our discussion question a while ago.
I noticed, I didn't have time to say that. I couldn't get it in there.
Oh, okay.
But the people, I've noticed, they will, when you tell them no, they will say some smart ass comment back to you, to belittle you, or the person that's helping.
Yes,
Because you're not giving them what they want,
right,
when they want it,
right,
knowing they need the help, they need
Yes.
to go get their groceries or whatever,
yes,
but you're not doing it when they want it.
right,
Right.
I had to learn to not let myself be toxic in certain things, but when this situation happened like this, not to fall apart emotionally, or be feeling like I'm a bad person because I didn't do what they needed
right,
when they wanted it.
yes. And if we can understand that has to do with toxicity, that maybe that will help us to be able to navigate some of these hurdles that we have in our life, is to be able to say, no, I'm not able to do that right now. Or no, I'm not gonna do that right now.
Even if I am available.
That's the reason why I said the second statement. No, I'm not gonna do that right now.
Yeah.
And because our earlier comment about where's the legitimate line of help and being rescued, okay? That's what we were talking about in the discussion deal is, and the rest of the thing of it is, people will ask questions, but they don't even wait for the answer,
Right.
right? They don't really have the question, they just are filling the air with noise sometimes.
Yeah.
And like check control.
And I've been learning comments to give back, you know, that just,
And I got down here why, because I'm past time here. Why, I put down here, I think it's a way of control the issue, control the situation, control people. So that, because when you're in control, then you are less vulnerable in the dynamic of the relationship or in the room. Okay, so if you're speaking when somebody else is supposed to be speaking, then you're controlling, so that makes you feel better. You understand what I'm talking about?
My bad.
Yeah.
That negative responses you get, not always, but sometimes because of perceived rejection.
and what?
Because of a perceived rejection.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, did we do number 4 yet?
You may have
Can
done
you
it.
find?
It's not a lot of
No.
order, I don't know where.
Yeah, here, I think this is number 4. They want, oh yeah, here we go. Number 4, they want to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Okay? They want to hijack the conversation or the room. Here we're talking about, they state here, they ask questions, okay? They continually try to involve themselves, to ingratiate themselves, sometimes to with the person. So they, again, they're trying to be the center of attraction because they want to communicate how the areas that they're expert in, and tell you how they think and what they think, and they also want to tell you about their amazing track record or everything they've done to try to demand attention to them and the question is, why? Again, They have this neediness that we were talking about and this insecurity, in my opinion.
It makes you feel superior.
It fills that void of, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of need is, you know, is being valued, having a purpose, and this safety need, and emotional safety is a need, okay? But the trouble is, they don't understand, but they're blowing up everything that they're trying to get.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we've done it too, right? You know, we've sabotaged our own life, right? Well, if I'm gonna die, we'll just let everybody, you know, go up and smoke with me, you know. Literally, in an abstract way, okay? So, number 5, you hear from them far too often in the first month. In other words, call, text, email, you know, they want attention, they want to be on your calendar, they want your involvement, they want to, they feel that if they can crowd in close, they can meet that need that they have of deal. And that is a real need, but the trouble is, again, they're overreaching. Would you agree with that?
I've known some people that I've seen, like, somebody will be talking, like, maybe they work on the job with the guy for one day, and the guy's talking about all the stuff they did on the job, and this other guy's going, trying to tell the story for him, like he's the one that did it. And he was only there for 20 minutes one day.
One of my earlier jobs, it was in, I was working in a laundry, a commercial laundry, and I was talking to a guy that had worked there for 25 years. He was talking to me. He was actually checking me out. And he said, so he was talking to me, and then he asked me, he says, well, how long are you going to stay here? And I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm here on a temporary basis because they already hired 2 people before me, and I'm just going to stay as long as I can, you know. And he says, you'll probably be here longer than most of us because everybody else says, oh, they're going to be here forever. And I was there. In fact, I went from the 3rd peon in the maintenance department to running the maintenance department and running production and overseeing the trucks and the maintenance in the trucks. So,
Big boss.
and so I did, you know, but the fact of it was, that was, you know, I wasn't trying to sell myself. I was just trying to do that. So, 6th one, last one, they have a track record of moving around. In other words, they just, for one reason or another, they just bounce from place to place to place. They're trying to find, in my opinion, they're trying to really find a place, but they're oftentimes sabotaging the place that they're at.
A meeting you're talking about.
Meeting, church, work, people, relationships,
Your home?
living space. Yeah, people move constantly all the time because either they get in fights with neighbors, or you know, and it's all the neighbors' fault, of course. And so there's all kinds of things going. Not that this toxicness is absolutely purely stated in every area or nuance in our life, but there is some definite bleed over. Okay, and again, we're all toxic to some degree, and I think if we just listen and maybe you can identify yourself or somebody else, and I'm not saying that you should be harsh or mean or ugly. I think you need to recognize that it is primarily need-driven, and that, now this may sound a little harsh, but I think it's the truth, that your ability to tolerate and handled in an appropriate manner, the individuals that are toxic is directly related to your own personal maturity. Did I say that okay?
I was gonna say, I feel like I grew up a lot.
You know, I just kind of, do what?
I was gonna say, I feel like I grew up a lot tonight.
Okay, well, good. Thank you very much.
Tommy's really enjoying this topic. Kim's ears are burning all night. Teach her to pick up subject.
I would say something, but I'm not gonna say any more into it.
There's some stats that I found from the Mental Health America, and it says that 84% of women and 75% of men report having a toxic friend at some point.
At some point.
At some point.
We all used to.
I'm like,
Wait,
wait a minute,
I'm just-
maybe there's people that haven't gone without them?
I was just thinking the
Right now.
same thing.
That's a possibility.
the other percentage are the extreme toxic to individuals. I don't know. I'm just.
It's toxic, and they answered the question, and they're being shady. That's what it's going on.
And the end of that stat is 3/4 of the United States employees have said that they've had or do have a toxic boss.
We all do.
3/4.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Grateful to have great ones now.
Yes. Thank God for great ones.
All of it.
How many of them were their own boss?
Exactly.
That's a good question.
That's good.
Tommy's on a roll. He's really learning this subject.
Roy said that.
It's that shady stuff.
That's good enough. I'm sorry we went way over, but we had some intense discussion questions, right?
Still on the air?
Yes, we are. But we're getting ready to shut her down here. So, thanks, everybody. Final input from anybody?
Yeah. Of course. It was all about me tonight. Everything. Not all about me on purpose, but, you know, I learned a lot. I got
Well, we're glad.
text earlier.
Yes, I have a question.
This is where I apparently need to be. I've been to every meeting in the 4-state area. This apparently is where I need to be.
Well, we're glad you're here,
Okay.
and you're important to
And
us.
I was born ADHD, bipolar #1, and attention deficit disorder, okay? That's why I said, can you be born, even when you're born that way, overcome it?
Well, you didn't ask that question, but I know the answer to that one is yes.
Okay?
Okay?
That's what.
And I question the being born. You can be born into a family of orientation that could cause some of that or contribute to that by situations or by trauma.
And for that young, you know,
And you don't know any different, but the fact of it is, still the answer is yes. But you have to first be aware and then be really willing.
it took me 60 years, I guess, but I got it.
Jennifer, you had a question?
Yes, I do have a question. Now that we are successfully through awarding us above and level in high school and that, can we get the password to the yes and right time?
John will give it to you. All right? Because John knows that type of stuff. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and give you His peace. And I hope we all learned something tonight.
Oh, did we?
Amen.
You set this all up like this.
Yeah, oh yeah, he did.